Clean up your room, bitches.
I don't have a good feeling about SBF.
Jordan Peterson, Kanye West, therapy.
I love Dave Chappelle.
I plan to speak to Kanye.
Do I look like an idiot to you?
Welcome back to
Buckle up, baby.
episode 45.
We're renaming it White Devils.
We had a week, Michael.
Yeah, we did. We found a corner of the internet.
It's not a corner I necessarily want to be a part of, but I will say we're out of the dip for now. We climbed our way
It was a
out.
fun week. We had a fun week.
So what happened?
We had Harry on last week.
Rabbi Harry Rosenberg?
Rabbi Harry Rosenberg, right?
Yeah.
And he was probably the first guest we had who was like classic podcast guest in terms of like he's got a little bit of following, he's got something to say, and he'll say provocative, crazy stuff. Whether or not you think it's crazy, just like
A unique perspective.
a unique guy, right? You can't find anywhere else, and it's cool because it worked in a sense. Like it got people freaking watching on TikTok and Instagram.
Had a video pop off on TikTok, which now I think it's not many followers, but it's climbing and things.
Yeah.
There was activity. I could feel activity.
Percentage wise, we have like 6 times the amount of followers we did last week. It's fun.
Doesn't matter how it happens. It happens from the grind.
Yeah.
So congrats. Good for
It's good. Yeah, it's
for
good.
you.
It's a good lesson in like being here.
Yeah.
Because when the Kanye thing came up, we were here.
Yeah.
And like we asked Harry, and we already had a recording set up. So like, why not come by? Yeah.
A podcasting infrastructure in place to talk about something like that.
Exactly.
Are there any other thoughts to talk about with regard to what's going on in the world with anti-Semitism? Because you want to get back to talking bullshit, or you want to talk real?
I do want to get back to we can talk the anti-Semitic stuff first, and then get into it.
Yeah, one of the things that I felt was urgent, like really 2 to 3 days ago, was the Chappelle monologue that everybody now has exhausted and talked about. So I almost feel like a lot's already been said about it. But I definitely want to talk to you about my take on it. We discussed it on the phone a little bit because, I'm a Jew and a comedian and a creative and all of those things. So, and free speech and all those, like I advocate for all those principles and ideas. And there's a huge risk of looking totally hypocritical when calling out Dave Chappelle or addressing or criticizing any of the things he's saying. But I don't think I am at all. And I'm going to be critical, but I can defend it, I think, well, with seemingly at the risk of looking hypocritical, but not actually being hypocritical, and I can defend it.
I'm curious to hear that, and also throw in how this is any different than the trans stuff that you supported him with.
I've thought about it.
All right,
I did support him through that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Showed up at his house. You wrote him letters.
I supported him through that.
Yeah.
Let me say off the bat, as everybody knows, you and I are modern Orthodox Jews, okay? I like Jewish jokes from non-Jewish comedians. I like racial jokes, controversial jokes, Holocaust jokes about any subject, any topic. I don't think anything is off limits.
You have a good Holocaust joke?
Yeah. I don't have a good Holocaust joke. Handy.
Okay.
And I certainly, given the situation and everything, maybe for right now in this episode, I won't try to find one.
It's not the right time.
But I like them all.
Okay.
Provided that they're jokes. There's sort of this unspoken rule of stand-up comedy for people who get it and aren't there to protest when you're in the club or you're going to see a show or an act, that you're going to watch somebody make jokes. So it's like what Bill Burr used to say. It's like, don't tell me they're real statements. You're writing this blog post like it's a real statement, like I meant the joke. Come on. And I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether somebody is, succeeds or fails at the joke, at least there's that person that he or she is still attempting to make a joke and find the funny in something tragic or sad or awful or horrific, but we're trying to find the funny in it so we can all laugh at it together. We can celebrate each other's differences. We can joke about each other and be loose and fun. And I'm all for that. And to me, if a joke bombs, then obviously it gets interpreted as more hurtful and more offensive because you didn't get the laugh, which is what's required in order for something not to hurt. Mm-hmm. But that's like sitting with somebody and making a joke at them and you actually hurt their feelings. That can happen sometimes if you don't read it right, and comedians take that risk, and I think they should be able to. And you and I are both huge fans of Dave Chappelle, and he's a brilliant, amazing comedian, one of the GOATs, best of all time.
Not just a great comedian, but a great social commentator.
Okay. So on that point,
he has evolved into something different than a comedian.
So on that point, provided that they're jokes. Now, I think in the situation with the trans community, in the beginning, at least when it was starting out, what I was hearing were jokes. And then he was getting attacked for making jokes. And then he responded to those attacks on him and attempted cancellations with points to be made and commentary.
But not just with that, also with the I can't believe I'm blanking on the name. The guy who was killed by, I remember the cop's name, Derek Chauvin. George Floyd. Yeah, he came out with a special called like 8.5 Minutes.
Yes,
or something.
that was. But so he was commenting on that.
Yeah,
but he wasn't.
There were no jokes in there.
Yeah, no. So he's had his areas where he's doing more commentary. That I understand, but I'm just talking about. I'm about to compare the trans situation, I guess, to what happened with the monologue and what's going on here. That's where I'm going with it, and why I don't think it's hypocritical.
Okay.
And in one case I was okay with it, and in one case I wasn't.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna say, and I don't want to say wasn't because that's like a blanket statement too. I can state sort of my position on the monologue in a minute, but I guess maybe I'm going backwards. But I don't want to get into the weeds of it all. Cool. But in any event. I felt like in a lot of the trends, especially where he was making jokes, he's making jokes, yes. And they're like, he's punching down. He's doing that. I'm like, no, he's making jokes. And he's making jokes about everybody. In this case, making jokes about one group. Everybody should be able to take a joke. And I guess comedy is subjective. And I'm making that point that it's subjective. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. But to protest and cancel, that's kind of ridiculous. And then if he's responding with serious points because you're attacking him and you're canceling him, that's a different story. But to me, they were very clearly jokes, even though comedy is subjective the way I looked at them.
Okay.
And to the monologue, fast forward to the monologue, which was Jewish-centered and Jew-centered, I was laughing in the beginning. Like, I have mixed feelings about it because he made jokes about Jews. I don't say that because he made jokes about Jews, there was problems in it. It's when all of a sudden, at some point in the monologue, he wasn't making jokes anymore. It seemed to be more like he was making commentary or serious points. And once you go there, the standard seems to change. I'm like, am I watching a stand-up comedy act in which you're attempting to get laughs and maybe you are, maybe you aren't? Or are you trying to like have some social commentary and make some serious points in which now I'm supposed to respond genuinely or seriously? You know what I mean? And that seems to be what's being invited. And my critique of the act was... and this is a critique. It's not a cancellation. I don't think he should be canceled or punished or those kinds of things. It can spark a dialogue, but I did have problems with what was going on in the monologue on the specifics. You know, like there were certain things that were very clearly jokes. And then when he gets into when he started to make certain topics like, you know, Jews have been through horrible things, but you can't blame that on African Americans. You just can't. No one's doing that. Right? I found that weird. But there are a lot of African Americans, at least through the Kanye and Kyrie channels, that are supporting blaming everything on the Jews. So there just didn't seem to be a balanced... There were things in there that I think it could have used more balance. And I could get into the details of it, but it's not like the Jewish community is claiming that their suffering is the fault of the African American community, but there seemed to be, and based on our last episode, a lot of people in that community claiming that a lot of the problems happening there are the fault of Jews. And
but that kind of line isn't so unusual for him to throw in sort of something that sounds profound. That's not a joke. He does that in his sets all the time.
Yes, but I'm saying
not
given
just in response to like the trans stuff, like out of set, like within the set, he'll throw a line, but like but you know, like he'll say things like that.
I understand, but if he's going there,
yeah,
then what I think it's fair to sort of have a critical lens on what he's talking about. And then we're talking about not criticizing it from a comedic standpoint. The joke didn't work, the joke did not work. Then it's like, okay, you're making a point here.
Right.
And now we're talking a little bit more on a serious plane. Okay, if we want to talk more profound, I get it. I'm not saying he's not allowed. He's allowed to do that within his act. But now we're changing we're moving the goalpost a little to say, okay, so what are you saying now? Because what has happened in the context is that Kanye West made crazy anti-Semitic statements, and Kyrie Irving posted a link to a movie which is really problematic and full of anti-Semitic tropes. Okay, what should happen to them is one question. How should we respond to that? We've talked about that a lot. How should we react? Should we punish them? I liked what Jon Stewart was saying. It's like, it's not going to help. We're not going to change people's thoughts by punishing them. Fine. But it's like Dave Chappelle, I get it. It was not like he was agreeing with them per se, but you know, and there was parts of it where he was like, they're crazy, but I get why they think that way. You know, he was sort of...
Yeah, I picked up on that.
You know, that he's saying, I get why you think that way. He's like, but that... I watched it twice. So the first time I was like, what? But then... I'm losing my train of thought because it was so fresh to me when it happened. But then when he starts to sort of validate their feelings...
Yeah.
Without offering a strong enough counter.
Yeah.
I know he said, and you know, there are a lot of black people in Ferguson, Missouri. Doesn't mean they run the place. But, you know, I don't know, like... There was just something that was sort of imbalanced about it. And then to close with whoever they are was just like, okay, we went out of the joke range from, I liked when he said about mafia, Italian, like I liked a lot of the jokes and I'm laughing, but then it reaches this point where, you know, he's validating their feelings and he's not really working hard to dispel them.
Yeah. I felt, even I think if you can't maybe like break down his set, to explain exactly why, I also heard like a dog whistle in there, the same way I heard in Russell Simmons' response, and like I've heard in a lot of responses, like in Whoopi Goldberg's response, like the same thing of like, okay, I'll stop saying it, but doesn't mean I don't believe it. I heard that also in there, and that was pretty uncomfortable. Yeah,
and it's very revealing that, you know what, a lot of people have this myth narrative idea about in maybe Jay Chappelle shedding light on the fact that people in the black community feel this way, and the African American community feel this way about Jewish people, and that can spark an interesting dialogue and it can validate what we've been saying, that maybe just this whole slap on the wrist doesn't work. But I'm just saying, I don't know. The more I sat with it, I don't think we're just looking at jokes anymore. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's not, and I'm not saying we should cancel him. I'm just saying we're not evaluating what was performed as just a comedic set.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden he's making profound, serious points, then we're responding a little bit differently. It's resonating differently. And, you know, Kanye said horrible things, and he made jokes about that. I think he did a good job unpacking that. Then he went to bed, and like I don't want to go through the whole act. It's funny in the beginning. It's very funny, but then he starts to go into like, well, but look, there's a lot.
Well, he's doing
a lot.
He's doing the Jon Stewart thing that always annoyed both of us, where like, do you want to be a social commentator or do you want to be a comedian and make people laugh? Right. Like, it seems like you're doing both. He did that whole special where he just called out the executives at Comedy Central who stole, who he kind of claimed like stole his IP and then wouldn't give it back to him. That was a protest set that he did. That was like, so you.
But that was fine in terms of there was nothing racial about that.
No. I'm just saying.
I know what you're saying.
I'm saying don't just say I'm just a comedian when you're gonna do something like that too. So when you do something like that and you do 8.5 minutes or whatever it was about George Floyd, and then you do a monologue on SNL, we don't just look at you like you're a comedian. You're not like. Whoever, I don't even know, like Sebastian Maniscalco getting up there, like you're someone people look to understand what's going on in the country.
Right.
So it matters what you say about this, and I think people wanted him to make sense of it to them.
Right.
Like to be some kind of conduit between like the Jewish community and the black community, and he sort of wasn't. He was sort of like, nah, I'm in Kanye's camp on this one, guys. I'm just not gonna say it. I'm like a little bit gonna like defend him a little bit. And like explain him to all of you.
Yeah.
And I'm not like really gonna tear down what he said.
So if you watch it carefully, and since he's dealing with such a delicate, fresh, raw topic, right? It's very sensitive and requires like every beat and sentence sort of matters. So like even just, this is like almost a comedic critique because he's doing a monologue in the form of stand-up in some way. If he had just said, now look, there's a lot of Jews in Hollywood, like a lot, don't get me wrong. But that doesn't mean we run the place. Like if he had said it like that feels different to me than like a lot. Long pause.
Yeah.
Sit with it. And then I know I'm getting into the weeds of it, but the reason is if we're now establishing that we're evaluating this as serious commentary and serious points to be made, and in a way comedy always has an undertone of that. I'm not saying he can't say what he said. I hear myself saying this, and I don't think it's hypocritical though, because I think in a lot of ways, because I like a good Jewish joke that digs at Jews from in jest. It's almost like when your friend's joking around with you, and then all of a sudden starts saying something that's not a joke, and you're like, you know. So I think that's what happened here. You're like, shit, this is good, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, you realize given the context of what just happened. You know, and I heard Judy Gold speak about this on CNN because she just wrote a book like about free speech and what comedians. Yes, I can say that. And they were asking Judy Gold on CNN, "What did you think?" He's like, "Well, I like Dave. You know, Dave is
Did Elon transition? Who is that?
No. But Judy. You know who Judy Gold is?
No,
not Elon Gold, but Judy Gold. She is another been in the game a long time. Jewish female comedian,
a tall woman,
tall redhead.
I think she was on Louis.
Yeah, redhead
FX.
or blonde.
She's
been on Louis.
Like old school.
Old school.
Yeah,
she's like, listen.
90s comic.
So she said, "Listen, Dave's a friend. He's a really nice guy, but I have to admit, you know, as a comedian, I liked some of it. I was laughing, but then it made me a little uncomfortable. You know, Jews have it really hard, and it's not easy for us. You know, like I don't think she said Jews have it really. I'm not quoting, but she was like, it's not an easy time for us. You know, like." I have to admit it. Parts of it made me a little uncomfortable. Like, what are you getting at here? You know. So she's hinting at like I was laughing through it, and then you're just like, and then even certain lines. She's like, even when he said, you know, about Jewish suffering not being the responsibility or the fault of the African American community. She's like, and nobody reacted or knew what to do because no one is saying that. So it didn't really resonate. It didn't really work, that line, because no one is saying that has happened. You know, no one is making that claim. So that seemed disingenuous. It's like, that's not the issue here. The issue is not that Jews are claiming that the African community are responsible for their suffering. It's quite the contrary, is what the problem is. Kanye is out there saying that I'm going DEFCON 3 on the Jews. Yeah. They're responsible for my suffering and our suffering, and we got to call it out. And I've seen so many comments making commentary on this subject, and people are saying the most viciously disgusting anti-Semitic things and made up stuff about Jews, like libels. It's libel out there.
And to have such a twisted perception of that calls into question his whole understanding of the whole thing, which calls into question his like authority to make a joke about it. Yeah. If he really doesn't quite understand what's going on.
Yeah, I think a lack of I don't know. There seemed to be something missing, at least a sensitivity to the issue and like maybe the history of anti-Semitism. It's not his responsibility. He's making jokes from his perspective to the best of his ability. But, you know, there just didn't seem to be enough of that balance of like, everybody can laugh together at this, guys. Because we all agree. And, now that I hear it and I watched it a second time, there were parts of it where you can qualify a lot of the statements. He does say Kanye went a little crazy, and I liked his joke when he said like, the two words you can never say together, the Jews. Nothing could ever happen after the words, the Jews. Nothing. But it's so clearly like we're joking here about this, and that's a good joke. But then he goes, but I get it. Yeah. There's a moment he's like, but I get it.
Well, so not in his defense, but I guess the reason I'm so proud of what we did with Harry is that if people do believe this thing, we have to deal with it, and like and we have to we have to be able to say there are a lot of Jews in media, and it does look weird, and there are Jews who have taken advantage of black artists, and that's fucked up, and we don't support that, and we don't defend that, and we have to be able to say that because they're gonna believe it whether or not we say it.
But you have to be careful when you claim that guy's one of ours, and we have to take responsibility for some guy named Rabinowitz who's an executive. Why do we have to take responsibility for that?
Because they're blaming us for it. Right. So it is our responsibility whether or not we want to take it.
Yeah. Okay. Because where it gets being attributed to the Jews broadly.
Yeah.
Because of these behaviors.
Yeah, and we have to be able to say. There's a part of it that I think does fall on our shoulders. What I like about Harry is he's able to just listen to what they're saying, and within like when someone's having a manic episode or something, and they come to you with a crazy claim, you have to respond to them within their craziness. Like you can't keep trying to talk them down of like Hitler's not your father. Hitler you have to you can't bring them back to reality.
Who said that?
Well, let's just say someone's having episodes like, I think Hitler's my father. Like,
yeah, I understand. You have to talk to them where they're at.
Okay, so Hitler's your father.
Yeah.
Like when was he born and when were you born? And like deal with it, right? So they're saying Jews. So like, okay, Jews run the media. Like, tell me, how does that work? And why is that my fault?
As opposed to, yeah. No, listen. You don't agree or validate, but by confronting it, meeting them where they're at, and then you can kind of gradually untangle that myth and
exactly,
that narrative. I understand.
So in his defense, like it's something he probably does believe, and like that's and I think like it seeped through his set, no matter and even out of his control, and we need to be able to talk to him about it.
The hardest part was that he closed again with it, and it didn't quite have a satisfying note to it. It had a weird eerie note. But
he believes it.
If you watch it carefully, word for word, I watched it a second time just to like give myself another shot at it. To see how it hit the first time and the second time. He says, if you spend all this time or whatever, you might have the delusional belief that the Jews control everything, but you don't say it out loud, and that's the joke. Like we all like delusional beliefs, you don't say out loud. Delusional beliefs, you keep to yourself. It just what got tucked under a lot of things, and I just think it wasn't the masterful delivery everybody's talking about. That was served as the referee between the communities. I don't think it was.
I think,
and that's my critique of it. Obviously, I'm not going out there claiming that he's hateful, and none of that. I think that's nonsense, and I don't think he should be canceled. But this needs to be talked about because it revealed a blind spot.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, Harry just went on this hip hop show, and they brought that claim against him, and I thought he had a really like good response to it, and like it was like a nice sort of like refreshing. What's that word? Like where you're like, it was like a relieving moment when they were like actually cathartic. Yeah, it was a nice cathartic moment. Yeah. Instead of like becoming this fight. I think they said like, all these Jewish executives have like been promoting like, Black Americans selling drugs and killing each other.
Right.
And he's like, well, are there no hip hop labels that like are owned like not by Jews, and like they're still putting out that music, and like they were basically
Spotify
like, no.
is run by a Swedish guy. I mean, saying
whatever it is, but it was so nice for him to be like yeah, that does happen, but like let's talk about how valid the claim is that it's our fault.
Whether there's a disproportionate amount of Jews in a particular industry is fine, but you're being awfully selective. One is being awfully selective when you're just saying, well, that one's owned by a Jew, and that one, but discounting all the ones who aren't. Yeah, well, I'm not denying maybe that there's a disproportion, but like. Then to make this leap that there's some grand conspiracy or that everyone is partial and involved in putting out this stuff, and then I have another argument against that, which is the culture vulture argument. That's what Charlemagne the God said. Aren't you a culture vulture? Then there's a viral clip going around of this guy who did not do a good job. I think an executive. He's on Breakfast Club, and they're like, "Aren't you a culture vulture?" Then
what's a culture vulture?
A culture vulture. You're somebody who's like using our culture and destroying it and putting it out there to make money and all that. I think that's what it means. I think Charlemagne's like, "Aren't you a culture vulture?" It's like because he goes like, he was saying how like that what's being like put out there in hip hop is destructive and agreeing with them about that. But then they like flip it on him. But then why are you like investing in these artists and developing them if you think that what they're doing is destructive? Does not make you like a culture vulture. Maybe somebody who's latches onto culture destroys it. I don't really know. And then he goes, I got people to feed. It was bad. But that guy that was a bad look for this guy as an individual. And they were like, oh, he's like, listen, you're not listening, Charlemagne. You're not listening. And I'm like, but my argument is this. Like, let's say you assume with the best of intentions, an executive or whoever is supporting African-American artists, hip-hop artists to get their stuff out there. Like, I thought we were okay with artistic expression. And even if it's about drugs and violence and things like that, like, people are reflecting and expressing their honest experiences in their music, and it's resonating with millions of people around the world. One can argue that's an argument in the culture. Is that good? Is that bad? Does that promote lifestyle that's not good and destructive? I don't know how I feel about that because, like, to me, a song, a piece of art is just a reflective of reality. If you want to change reality and change the values that lead to that art. But the art is reflecting what's going on. It's a window into the truth, and you don't want to shut that down. And to me, it's putting the cart before the horse.
But I think that whole...
It's putting the cart before the horse, Michael.
That whole line of thinking is just like it's just fallacious, like you would say. I think Jon Stewart said it really well, where he's like, what the Black community is actually saying is like, we feel like we've been exploited. and like and we want someone to do something about it.
Right.
And like I think the only response to that is like yeah, you have been exploited. You know, we also feel exploited. Like we're you're right. There's a million ways to discredit their argument and tear it apart, but that's not the point. The point is like listening and sharing in that with them, and like showing that like we aren't the ones victimizing you.
But but do you think there's also a search on that issue of exploitation of the culture? Do you think that maybe because there's suffering that's continual and has gone on through the decades, they're looking there's like this search for why have things not progressed? Maybe it's the exploitation of the culture, because to me it's like looking at a violent video game and saying that's the cause of violence.
Sure.
I'm like, I don't think that's what I don't think the art, for example, for me, as like from an artistic perspective, movies, music, paintings, whatever, that is reflecting a reality, not causing a reality. That's just how I think about it. So that might be just something that is being discussed, like that it's this type of music and genre of music that is causing it by promoting lifestyle and violence and drugs and these things. Or it's reflecting a reality that reality needs to be addressed in reality, and then the art will follow.
Yeah.
It's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, and I think it all starts like just by listening and by like, validating the parts of it that are true.
Because maybe the way to, one can argue the way to expose what's going on, the problems within a community, is to express it. Write music about it, make a film about it. Don't shut that down. Don't say no, don't make that, because then it's going to feed into itself. You make that, but like the real things on the ground that have to go on. I mean, I'd love to talk to someone from that community and really get because I don't have experience with it. Two of us are not black. We're modern Orthodox Jews, so we don't know. But what Jon Stewart is talking about is that the punitive shutting it down, that's not going to do anything. He's like, they're grown ass men. We're not going to change people's thoughts with punishments and fines. That's true.
Yeah,
that has to be true.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, you have to allow people to say what they say. To me, canceling, we already have a mechanism for canceling. It's called jail for violent crimes. If you commit actions of felony and violence and all these other things, then you get canceled, you get removed, right? Like, speech is different than actions, and we're like muddling the two together, and we're trying to come up with this new sort of punishment that's not, you know what I mean? If Kanye West vandalized a synagogue, or he started beating Jews up in the street, I'm not defending him, but I'm saying, okay, he has said something horrible, needs to be addressed and confronted. And yes, there's the social cancellation. I don't think brands have to work with him. They could do what they want to. That's part of the free speech. You get it. You have to, you can't dish it out if you can't take it. Like, I get that too. But beyond that, solving the problem, having more of a mutual understanding of things, dispelling the myths about what a lot of people believe that have resonated with Kanye and Kyrie's movie. I don't want to say Kyrie posted the link. I don't know. Yeah. But that movie and confronting those claims and dialoguing, it has to be much more constructive than a pat on the back. We called it out. We shut it down. Totally. We made them pay a fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. That's not defending anything they said. Obviously, that's the opposite. It's calling it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Harry also comes from a place of like strength and pride, and like when you're not self-conscious, you can admit to your own faults. Like there are like, where does it start for most people? They have a Jewish landlord who like raises their rent, and like they get pissed. Like there are Jewish landlords who do that, and like some of it's not good, and like some of it's like. But the
definition of a racism or anti-Semitism in any form or whatever is to take the actions of one individual. Take the actions of one individual. Look at what is immutable about them, and then blame that immutable kind of characteristic, like their race or ethnicity, and say there's this whole, that's what,
and that starts with someone w's been
a human problem,
been exploited and is suffering. So like, let's listen to them when they want to talk about it.
No, I get it. Yeah. But I'm just saying that
it is racist, and it's I'm not saying it's not. I just
you're saying it is. You're saying it isn't. No, you want. I get it.
I want to actually like defeat it and move forward. I don't want to like keep ourselves in this.
Hey, listen, and Jews have a concept of practicing Jews have a very strong concept of this value called sanctifying God's name. I mean, we wouldn't do that, like the idea of acting in accordance when you're we learn about it in school. The concept of making sure you're acting like your best self and putting your best foot forward and having acting in accordance with like good values and being good to other people. especially if you're wearing a kippah in public. Why do we have that? It's because you're representing not just yourself, everybody. So we understand that people are going to perceive that, when you do something good, they're going to perceive it collectively. It's how human beings work and operate. So we don't pretend like, I get that the strictly individualist argument doesn't always resonate because you're like, well, that's just one. Okay, but if it's happening repeatedly with somebody, you have to address. Yeah, you have to address that. Even you don't have to take responsibility for it. For better or worse, someone has a misperception of you, and it's going to cause problems. It behooves you to correct it. Yeah. Good night. Yeah. Yeah. Does that cover everything?
Just if anyone's listening, go watch Jon Stewart on Colbert. I thought he said it really well.
Well, it's interesting.
The face is okay.
He's always like, Stephen.
Did you see Stephen? He's like, he's like
ageless.
No, not just ageless. Like,
I thought that was a great interview though.
It was a great interview. He's like so sanitary, like so sanitized with thinking and saying the exact like party line. It's like so wild. Like,
because John is like, where are you, Stephen, in there?
Yeah.
Where are you? You become a late night guest, like kibitz with me.
It's like frightening to see almost. Like, good for him. He's making money. But like,
I thought it was funny when he goes, like, you don't like Jews, Stephen. But then he goes, just one. It comes out. He has a different role to play now. He's not.
Yeah, good for him. It was. I don't watch. I mean, we had Neil on, but I don't really watch the show.
You noticed that he felt more vanilla.
Yeah, what he said, he was talking about the elections as so you weren't like worried about this creeping tide of fascism, and he said it so matter of factly, like it was beyond question whether or not
he's kind of taking on the role. In a way,
he's
that was a good one. Taking on the mantle of the representing what he thinks is the mainstream.
Well, he's representing CBS Corporation.
Right.
I don't think I don't think it has much.
I mean, all that stuff is a little nauseating. I'm like, so it didn't happen, that rising tide of fascism we were all worried about. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
It's like, who do you spend your time with, Stephen?
But John is now like in the podcast space too. He's having all these interviews. Jon Stewart.
I really like his podcast. Yeah. Have you listened to it yet?
Some of it. I've had some.
It's pretty good.
Some of it. There's some Jon Stewart stuff I just can't get over. Like when he has people on that he doesn't agree with, it's not really in good faith. There's still a part of him that is Daily Show. I want to make you look like an idiot, and that's not cool. Because when he has people left to center on, he wants to talk to them. He's much more gracious.
Fair enough.
And I'm like, he had somebody on who banned transgender surgery for children in their state. Well, and I saw a clip of that. And I'm watching it, and he's just like, he's not listening to them. And maybe they're not as informed, but he's not having genuine conversations with people.
I think he would say they're not coming in good would you say good conscience? Good faith either. Like he interviewed the guy who like led the fight against validating the election in Arizona. Yeah. I think the attorney general there or something. Yeah. And the guy is just kind of like spewing this like bullshit line of logic to him, right? And the whole interview, he's basically just like, can you just say one thing that makes sense, please? And like that was the whole interview. But like,
why is that interview?
How are you supposed to listen to that guy in good faith when you But that interview, the guy's not acting in good faith. The guy's not acting in good faith.
But John had him on intentionally, knowing it would be that way. Come on. Like,
sure,
whole nature
and it's
of
interesting to watch, and that's why he's a successful media personality.
It's the same as what the Daily Show used to be like. Gotcha moments. Let's expose what an idiot this guy is by just letting him talk.
Yeah.
Under the guise of real conversation, and and then he did this horrible thing where John had this other guy on. Which politician was it? And John goes full woke on him in the middle of his show. I don't know if it was his podcast, but it was a different show, and I'm trying to remember what the clip was. But I think he was calling him. I think he was just accusing his own guest of being a racist that because he couldn't speak on a subject because he was white, and this other woman was going off on him as a white man, and John was like, "Yeah, maybe you should shut up," to his guest who was white. I'm like, so but I give credit where it's due. This segment on Colbert where he spoke about this issue, I think he was pretty right on the money. Yeah. He said what we've been saying articulately. He said, a lot of people think these false things, and to pretend that they don't think that is at our detriment.
Yeah. I wonder, now that you say that, I wonder why SNL decided to bring out a black comedian instead of a Jewish comedian? Why didn't they ask Jon Stewart to give the monologue? Like, why is it being seen as a black issue and not a Jewish issue? Isn't that interesting that they asked Chappelle to do it and not Jon Stewart?
Honestly,
I wonder how intentional that was.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know if it's intentional or if it's scheduled.
Why does Kanye need to be defended?
Yeah,
publicly. Why does he get to be defended on the stage of SNL?
But you don't even know if Chappelle was booked before Kanye's thing.
Was he in any sketches? No one would know because no one watches it. Oh, he was?
Oh,
he did the whole show?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought maybe they brought him out just for the monologue.
Michael, you're making yourself look like a fool. Yeah, he did a bunch of Chappelle show style sketches.
Were they funny?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta check them out.
No, I watched a few of them because they released his YouTube YouTube clips. He brought back old Chappelle show characters.
Do I look like an idiot to you?
You look like stormed the Capitol.
Okay, I'll watch them.
No,
I love Dave Chappelle.
Yeah. I saw clips on YouTube. I didn't watch the show live or anything, but who does?
Pete Davidson's
but he brought back old
does.
Chappelle show characters for some of these sketches.
Oh, that's cool.
Like they did a Game of Thrones thing, and he brings back his guys, like the crackhead.
Oh, cool.
I'm just here for some Dragon Rocks, baby. It's hilarious.
That's doo-doo, baby. Oh, so maybe he was scheduled to be on anyway.
I don't think it was like I don't know if, from what I understand and what I read a little bit online, and it's online, so take that for what it is. They did a rehearsal. They had Chappelle on. They did a rehearsal before they go live, and he did one monologue. And he tossed it.
Oh, good for him.
One.
He's cool. I love him.
Yeah. He did this. They didn't know.
I love the guy.
So he subversively did this thing. They thought it was going to be one thing. So I don't know if I can blame SNL. How are they going to know he's going to say that?
Yeah.
If that's true.
Yeah. See, I mean,
that's badass.
It would have been a lot more fun to go down the rabbit hole of SNL. I
don't think they're thinking like that.
That's probably announced like way beforehand.
And again, not canceling, criticizing, critiquing, and not because it's Jewish in subject matter, but the particular things that were said are worth critiquing.
One last point.
Everybody no one's off limits to talk about.
Yeah.
And I like it all. But
Dave, you're invited on to the show
anytime,
if you want to talk about it.
We can chat about that.
One last point, and then we really can leave this in the rear view.
Yes.
I saw Lupe Fiasco comment on this.
Okay.
And he's interesting because he's like also pretty definitely anti-Israel. He's very anti-Israel.
I know the name Lupe Fiasco.
Lupe, he's like a hip hop artist.
Oh,
he was big in like 2008, 2009.
Okay.
Now he just kind of exists. I don't know what he does anyway.
Floats in the culture.
Yeah, but he's like just like one of these like hip hop icons for whatever reason. I actually love his music. Very anti-Israel. I would have thought he'd be in like huge support of Kanye, but he was telling some stories about how like insane Kanye is, like from having toured with him, and he was basically like, what Kanye does is show us how hypocritical we all are. And how much of an enigma each of us is. Like Kanye will say two directly opposing statements,
right? And
like as an artist, it's sort of like almost like his performance art of being like, we're all hypocrites. We're all enigmas. None of us make sense. And he's just like, this is just the latest sort of thing that Kanye is performing of like I don't know how intentional it is, but I thought it was like a little bit of a redeeming way to see. Just like an artist that I like. I thought it was a nice little positive take on it.
Yeah, but that implies to me that Kanye is just this like toying with us and he knows what he's doing. I don't think he really does.
Well, I don't think all artists like are that calculated. They just act sometimes, and that's what they do, and it could destroy your life. It could kill you.
Well,
could
Jordan Peterson was being interviewed by Andrew Schultz, or the other way around. And I saw clips of it, and he was like, well, the problem with minorities is they're annoying, because they can be disproportionately successful, even in a majority country, and everybody resents that. And Schultz goes, wait, you mean like that's how people perceive minorities, right? Not how you feel about it. Yes, thank you for clearing that up. Yeah, yes. Thank you. They'd come after me for that, He's like, that's how people see them, not how you see them. But he says, I plan to speak to Kanye. That's what he said.
Oh.
I'd like to know and he's like, why? He's like,
he's so gross sometimes, Jordan Peterson.
Why? Wouldn't that be
what a stunt? What a stunt. What is he gonna get
Jordan
out of Kanye? Give me a break.
Well, because he's a psychologist.
Give me a break.
And it's now being marketed. Jordan Peterson, Kanye West therapy.
Dude, this guy is such.
You think he's clout chasing?
I think he wants to be famous.
Jordan?
So badly. Yes. I mean, I know.
Look at you going off.
I've always said this.
You've always been suspicious.
Why does he need a show on the Daily? Why does he need a show? Does he not have enough money? Does he not have enough audience? Why can't he just put his phone on his desk and upload to his YouTube channel anything he wants and sell ads? Why does he need a show on the Daily Wire?
Audience, reach, resources,
he has reach.
Access.
He has all of it.
I mean, he must, but
how much money does he need? He's a philosopher king who lives meekly in Canada with his loving wife and daughter.
Why are you? He doesn't live with his daughter anymore. Why are you so suspect?
They sleep in the same bed.
Why are you so suspect? You just went off.
Because the thing, him interviewing Kanye just really, that really just nails it for me.
I think that would be really fascinating. Jordan Peterson is ascendant in the culture. Influential, not on Kanye's level, a psychologist who understands the mental health element of it. And he said, well, I'd like to figure out what's going on. That's what I'd like to figure out. And problem with geniuses is that you're a genius and it comes with a lot of baggage. And he'd like to really understand that the fact that because Kanye is an artistic genius, you should be interested in the subject. You just made the fucking point.
As a psychologist, is it healthy for your patients to be interviewed on YouTube?
He didn't say publicly? As a psychologist. That's my take on it. That it would be interesting because Jordan Peterson would. I know you'd find it gross because you're like, oh, look at him. Like, I don't know if he said I'm planning on it. He said I'd like to because I'd like to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And
did he mean it like I'm trying to make it happen, or I'd like to? Because I'd also like to. In that case.
Jordan Peterson is in a position now where he can reach and talk to anybody he wants to, which is great. Yeah. Why is that a bad thing, Michael?
That's not a bad thing.
Why is it a bad thing that he puts himself together and makes content that's valuable for the masses on a much bigger scale?
You're getting very worked up about this.
You were much more worked up than me. I'm only matching your energy. I don't get your suspicion. You always think there's some ulterior motive or agenda that's malicious.
I think he's just human. He's
human. Yeah, I get it. It has a look to it. He knows what the optics are. But you don't know him like I do. Do you know that he had a segment on the Daily Wire where he had a person on sitting with him to challenge him on everything he's gotten heat for, who's like a friend of his who's to the left, and basically grilled him on his like tweets that got him in trouble, on his stuff that he went after Elliot Page on the sorry, not beautiful tweet that got him banned for the fat shaming one. He had him on and he just like was grilling Jordan.
Yeah.
And they had a back and forth. Sponsored by the Daily Wire. It's on the thing. And they're at the Daily Wire headquarters doing it, but he has a guy on to do it. Yes. Daily Wire is trying to create a multimedia empire that combats in every sort of way in all avenues of the culture, the opposing side of the culture, which is what it is. Woke, left, Marxist, I don't know what you want to call it. That sort of agenda-driven stuff. We don't have alternatives to that. And they're trying to create the alternative, and he wants to be a part of it, which I think he's earned his stripes. Not everyone is, I think he's earned his stripes.
I'd like to see him with his shirt off.
Why?
He should do more content with his shirt off. I think he'd get more eyeballs.
That's not.
I think he should
not being blindly defensive. I'm just like, you're being blindly offensive.
Do you think he has a lot of shoulder hair?
No.
No?
I would doubt
hairless.
He might be a bit beastly. He's in Alberta. You need a lot of hair to stay warm.
Yeah.
But you're being blindly offensive. I don't know if I'm being blindly defensive.
I just have this gut feeling about him. Have you heard of the Sam Bankman-Fried thing?
No.
You haven't heard of it? SBF?
Oh, SBF 50, the
SBF 50. Yeah, they just discovered SBF 55. It's coming out this summer.
What are you talking about?
I'm very excited. You haven't heard of SBF, and you're on YouTube and all this stuff. Sam Bankman-Fried.
I'm probably about to know what it is, but go.
About a year ago.
You mean FTX, the big scandal?
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
It's all over the place.
Sorry, FTX was started by SBF.
Okay.
Sam
That's
Bankman-Fried.
why I couldn't quite get it all together.
Sorry.
I know who this guy is with the hair. You think Jordan Peterson is a house of cards?
No. I'm just saying. Well, can I just
kidding me?
No. I'm just saying, like, SBF 2 weeks ago was
16 billion.
pristine. he was the poster boy, the face of crypto. There's a basketball arena, I think, named after his company. Like Larry David was in his commercials in the Super Bowl a year ago.
Tom Brady,
If someone were to say to you 3 weeks ago, I don't have a good feeling about SBF, they'd be like laughed out of the room.
Yes.
But like sometimes these gut feelings, like there's something to them, and I just have a gut feeling about Jordan Peterson that there's something off about him.
How many times have you been right with your gut feelings?
I was right about you.
Me?
Yeah.
In what sense?
That you're a great friend and a talented impersonator.
I'm asking you, do you have a track record or you're just full of shit?
That is a good question. Do I have a good track record for like specific people having downfalls?
No.
That's
you watch them and you say in retrospect, oh, it makes sense. And you want to think you have a sixth sense.
I can't point to anybody.
Jordan Peterson's been through ups and downs.
I can say I think I've been around enough spiritual teachers to know who I'm drawn to and who I'm not drawn to. And
but those are people you know.
No. I could sit in someone's class and afterwards be like, I don't like this guy. Something's up with him. I don't think he's coming from the right place. And I very much trust that radar. So with Jordan Peterson, when I hear him speak, part of me goes like, everything he's saying is great, but I wouldn't want to be his student. That's how I feel.
Well, okay.
I listen to his stuff. I think he's great.
What's suspicious? What do you think it is? You think there's something being hidden? You think that secretly it'll all fall apart?
I think it's the contradiction. He seems so thirsty for fame and fortune, and it seems to be at odds with his like persona of
Michael, he got famous at 53, 54 years old.
And he's never been happier.
Actually, I don't think that's true. I honestly don't. I think he's spoken about that.
He doesn't have to be famous now if he doesn't want to be. He has enough to live on.
What's that?
He has enough to live on. How much do you need in Alberta to retire on?
Life is not just pursuit of material wealth. It's much more than that. He's got enough to live on. Why he's not doing it for the money?
But he could teach like smallly and privately.
He can't teach at Toronto anymore. And he could teach, and he closed his clinical practice. They kicked him out of the college. He had a video that blew up randomly on YouTube.
He could open it
by protesting a law called Bill C-16.
Was it so random?
Yeah, and he's been on YouTube for like 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
with classes and lectures. I'm gonna just go for it a little bit. He's been posting his psychology classes from University of Toronto. You can watch them all. Since YouTube's inception, he's like an early YouTuber. Okay? And you could watch his classes.
Yeah.
What's the problem with his classes?
No, keep going.
And if you go back to early interviews from the 80s and 90s, there's clips of him saying the same stuff, same message.
Yeah.
He's had a clinical practice for many, many years, lots and lots of patients, and helped lots and lots of people. I guess that's bad in your estimation. He's helped all these people. Then he was catapulted into the public spotlight, fighting a bill that he really believed was evil and bad because he has a lot of expertise on the horrific atrocities of the 20th century. So maybe, just maybe you're right, or maybe he really believes that us as a culture and a society are in danger of a lot of things that he sees repeating themselves from his expert knowledge of history and psychology. Yeah. Nazi Germany, he claims, is not full of monsters. It was full of ordinary people like us, and each of us have darkness in us. And now that he has this huge platform to send this message, I believe he thinks and genuinely believes he can do a lot of good and is doing a lot of good. And you are seeing what?
I think.
Tell me, because when you stare into the abyss, it stares right back.
If you were to come into the studio, and after he left, you would both go like, "Oh."
I just wouldn't.
I'm telling you, man.
There's no way. I don't have that. You have that.
I'm telling you, man. Something's up with him.
Oh.
I think by the end of Jordan Peterson's life,
you'll be validated, or I will.
I think I will be. I think we're gonna find something.
It'll be your first.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe. I wish I could say that I was right about someone else in the past, but I don't think I can. And that makes me an honest person.
You can feel what you want to feel. It's just kind of based on nothing, but you have a weird gut that tells you, I don't trust Sam Harris. He's a serial killer. I don't trust.
A spiritual teacher who's like so aware of how he dresses there's something off about it. There's something weird about that. He's like, I mean, you see the way he like how much care he puts into his suits and like his makeup and his hair and all that.
Yeah.
That is not the
it's the megalomania.
There's not a sensibilities of a deeply spiritual teacher.
So you weren't always suspicious of him. It's only when he started putting on the aesthetic.
I think it exposed his fame, exposed something,
a vice, a temptation.
Yeah, about him that truly rubs me the wrong way.
Like televangelist style? Is that what you mean? In that vein?
I don't think it's as calculated and as greedy as that, or it
has more substance.
I don't think it's wrong. I should say I don't think it's wrong. I don't think anything he's doing is wrong. I just think it's it exposes him as something other than pure in his intentions and a spiritual philosopher.
Well, if you're not pure in your intentions, that's wrong.
No, I don't even know if he's aware of it. Like I don't think
intentions is awareness. If your intentions aren't pure, then you're aware of what you're doing. By the word intention means intention. It means you know what you're doing, and you're not what you're leading on to be.
I have a feeling that if things went, he's so.
What are you saying? If it came out that he was having an affair and was laundering money, you'd be like, I knew it.
No.
What are you saying?
I would be curious. Would he be willing to give up everything for his values right now? I wonder if I was writing a story about Jordan Peterson and he had to give up the money, the fame, the reputation, the influence, all of it to stay true to one of his values, I don't think he would do it. I don't think he'd be able to do it.
You do realize, I think you're really discounting the pre-Daily Wire and all this, the amount of heat and pressure and things that he lost that were valuable in his life before things seemed to be secure and cushy. Like probably relationships, colleagues, his entire academic career, his clinical practice, a lot of things that were valuable to him that are more than material. He had to give up.
That might be, but he's different now. He's a different person now. That was a few years ago, and now he didn't have all these. But
it's not a matter of security. You're saying he could live on what he wants. Would he give all up the riches and the fame? Like to me, I think you're putting that too much on as paramount to what drives him. In other words,
I don't think you know. What do you know? You don't know him.
I'm judging him based on what I'm seeing, and you're not.
I don't even watch his stuff.
That's what I'm saying. You're going with a gut. I'm going with everything I've seen played out.
I think he's done what Sam Harris has done to you, where you've lost touch with the truth because he's got you in his spell.
Oh, I like that. That's good trolling. But
but I think this is we've already gone over this topic before.
I know. And some of it's tongue in cheek. The suits are great. He looks fantastic.
He does look great.
Yeah, but you're just suspicious of the dog and pony show, really. If he was out there looking like shit, you'd be less suspicious. If he was just in like a sweater looking sloppy like a teacher but with all the popularity. Like,
I'd be less.
It's aesthetic to you that's rubbing you the wrong way. It's the whole dog and pony show. It's going on in front of a massive audience.
Aesthetics are part of a spiritual life, and that I don't.
Spiritual life?
Like he's not just he's a spiritual teacher. Isn't he? Yeah.
A spiritual, philosophical, whatever.
If a Kabbalist showed up here wearing like a gold chain and like pulled up in like an Escalade and had a driver, the first thing you think is bullshit. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing you think.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That's what's happening.
Same thing.
That's what's happening with you.
Yeah, we're not giving this guy any charity.
I guess I'm not perceiving what you're perceiving as such flashy, crazy, fancy stuff. So the suits are nice, but yeah, the suits are nice.
You know, it's how much he cares about it.
I think he cares. But it's not.
Just to be clear, I would do what he's doing.
I understand. I understand. I'm not seeing him like with a bunch of arm candy and a bunch of chicks on private jets saying, clean up your room, bitches. He's not doing that. So he just looks nice. And yes, he's on a big platform now, and they're all merging together to sort of get a different set of values out into the world, which I think are actually really important to me. Where I stand politically and stuff like that. I think it is important to have a counter narrative in which standing up for traditional, certain traditional institutions and norms, like that matters. Like this stuff doesn't come out of nowhere, where all of a sudden we're seeing a lot of unraveling of like a lot of real, like iconoclasts, like sacred institutions that are being destroyed. And I don't want to get into it, but I think it is damaging. And I think what he's doing is valuable in a lot of ways, especially for religiously minded folk like yourself, giving a lot of intellectual credibility to the people who are religiously inclined but don't know how to articulate it. Andrew Schultz said to him, what you've done that's so important is there are things that people think and feel and they don't know how to say it or articulate it. And you've been able to do that for so many people. They feel a certain way, they think a certain way, and you've been able to relieve them of having to put it into words for themselves because they don't know how to say what they're feeling, but you've been able to say what they're feeling. But yeah, the 3-piece suit bothers you, so discount all that shit. Trump 2024.
Ivanka's out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has he lost it?
Crystal and Cigar had a pretty. Do you know the guy from The Intercept, Ryan Grimm?
Sounds familiar.
He had their basic thing was like he was coming at it. He can't. His real rise to fame was Drain the Swamp.
Yeah,
that's what worked for him, and he can't do that anymore because he can't be like Drain the Swamp. Like, bro, it's your swamp.
Mike Pence is out too.
Yeah, so
Mike Pence says we need new leadership. I think we did amazing things during the Trump administration. We accomplished many things. I never really done Mike Pence on the pod, but we need new leadership. Yeah.
The one thing I would not do is count Trump out.
No. I wouldn't. You mean underestimate him?
Yeah, or count him out. Like if I had to bet right now, I would say like
he's the nominee.
It's DeSantis and Pence who are going down, not Trump. How many times can we make that mistake?
I'm gonna say it like this. It crystallized for me as I was walking to the studio this morning, and I was trying to put it into a bit, but I won't just give you a bit. This is what I really think.
There is something I want to try to interrupt you for a second on the podcast. Like you try bits out, and I read parts of my newsletter to see to get feedback from each other.
We could do that. I agree with the first part. I think it's like this. If America is one big American family, right? Trump is like the boyfriend that the mom keeps bringing back in.
the sister.
Or or the mom of our family, whoever that is, proverbial mom, keeps bringing this boyfriend back into the house to our dysfunctional family. The boyfriend, the stepdad. I'm trying to figure out what's a better way to what's a better word if he's the stepdad or the boyfriend. Anyway, he's like if we're one big family, the proverbial mom of America is bringing this boyfriend in. And sure, he can be a little charming and coarse. Maybe he fixes some things around the house, but he rips the family apart. He favorites certain siblings. He kicks certain siblings out. And if one sibling wrongs him the wrong way, he's in the bad graces of the boyfriend. And he treats the mom like crap sometimes, and sometimes he treats her great. And it's crazy. And then they break up. Then he comes. So if he came in the beginning to the dysfunctional family, fixed some things around the house that some siblings like, some siblings don't, in the end, he still rips the family apart. And DeSantis is like the guy you finally settle down with, who's like, I'm gonna, the safe married dude. I'm trying to like put them into this scenario.
I like it, but I think it works well with
Republican audience,
with your sister, who everyone wants to see happy, but she just keeps choosing the wrong guy. And with this, you're just like, all right, DeSantis isn't great.
He's a dud.
He's not Trump.
Yeah.
Like, as long as
Trump's the slut that she just keeps banging, and you're just like, oh god.
The boyfriend who comes around, but is also loaded.
Yeah.
So like you're always kind of happy when he's there, but like at the end you're always like, it's not worth it.
He even can get the neighbors together to accomplish things, like in the neighborhood. That's the foreign policy. He can even get them to do certain things because there's a lot of issues. Like I even saw, look, on Trump stuff. Like I watched some of his speech. Right, he said some things that I really would want to happen policy wise, like term limits for congressmen and senators. Senators? No, congressmen. Senators have term limits, don't they? No.
I think they both do.
No, there's no term limits in the Congress. I think that's both House and Senate.
You don't have to rerun for.
You have to
Congress?
run. There's no term limits.
Oh, I mean, you can run as many times as you
want.
You
can keep going, and you have career politicians, which is what we have. Nancy Pelosi's like 89 years old. You have term limits for the president. It makes. I've always said, and a lot of people like in the circles I've read and stuff like that have advocated for term limits for Congress. Why? For a couple of reasons. One, you don't get career-long politicians who can then lobby and have special interests for years and years and years. That's the swamp idea. But it's also the first term is spent not actually doing good policy, but trying to raise money for the second term and making sure you don't do anything too risky in the first term. and you're always trying to run for re-election. If you knew you only had 2 fixed terms, you're always worried about your next election, so you're never going to do anything that might compromise that. That's the point. If you know you have a single term, let's say, 1 6-year term, you're paid $1 million, like that's it, flat fee, $1 million or whatever it may be. You have 6 years. You're not no re-election. Do whatever you have to do. Make the most of it. Be a public servant for 6 years. That's what you want to try, and get it done. There's no incentive to have re-election. There's no incentive for special interest groups. You're not raising money for any campaigns. Most of them are just career campaigners running election after election to stay in power and then move up to committees and all this kind of bullshit. Term limits is an amazing idea.
I love that idea.
No one talks about that idea, and Trump did. And I'm like, oh, but there's just so much. That's a good idea, but there's so much baggage that comes. It's like when he announced, I'm like, and I knew it was going to come, but it's like the way what it does to the rest of us.
Yeah.
In the discourse, in the body politic is so awful. And he didn't concede the last election. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone, you know, that alone, like the norms, like we talked about.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. It's a fun show. Entertainer in chief. Like, you know, he's good off the cuff and on the mic. He can do amazing things. My Trump impression, I got it back when I was watching. You know how he goes when he's speaking? He looks like this. Then he looks like that for America. And he gets more sensual for America. We're going to drain the swamp for America. But anyway.
Well, Ryan Grimm had a point about that swagger and like being entertaining, where there's something with his first thing. He was like,
first term.
Yeah, when he first ran, he's like, listen, I'm a billionaire. Do I need to be president? No, but I'm gonna do this because I think I can. By the way, I think I can do a lot better. Now there's like a little desperation. Like you're already president.
He doesn't want to go out a loser.
Yeah, like you want this so much, and it's a harder ticket to sell to the show.
Right.
It's a harder ticket to sell. Plus you can't call people out anymore because then you have to call yourself out.
Well, unless
which you probably could do.
No, you know, don't underestimate the skill, because I think the way he might try to play it is with Biden is, I told you so. You give him 4 years. I told you so. The prices are terrible. Energy's up. Everybody's divided. I told you we're going to bring the country back together.
Yeah.
Squeeze. No, I feel like that might be something he tries to do. I do not for a second underestimate his manipulation and persuasion skills with mass. Like all these Republicans who are saying now, I think it's time to move on. We'll get right back on it. Right back on it. They will.
We can't help ourselves. Everyone wants it to happen in a certain sense.
No, but but think about it. The thing about just how when he was president, like, good, this policy you like, this policy you don't, hate what he does. No, like what he does, hate what he says, like what he says, like what he does, like what he says, hate what he does. Whatever combination, that whole like dystopian world we lived in for 4 years takes a huge toll. No matter where you stand on it, the fact that every single issue was a Trump issue.
Yeah.
You couldn't. It was almost like it was like a.
Yeah.
It captured all of us.
Yeah.
And you couldn't. And like when real things happen, like a COVID or something like that. I mean.
Yeah. Was DeSantis? Is he a election denier? DeSantis? Does he?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know him that. No, he's not. I don't know if he was involved. He's a governor.
No, I know. But what's it? Does he say the election was stolen?
Does he say the election was stolen? I don't think he's in that camp. I don't think that's what he's known for.
About that.
He's known for fighting the woke in Florida. It's where woke goes to die. That's his whole thing.
Something about, I almost rather have Trump because at least, you know, Trump's a clown. He's not like quite capable of pulling anything off.
What do you mean? As opposed to like a Ron DeSantis?
He's just like a sociopathic, narcissistic clown who's not trying to change anything. He's just trying to get attention for himself. Like with someone like DeSantis seems like smart enough and conniving enough to do some real damage.
Damage depends what
whatever
you mean.
That means. Yeah, whatever that means.
And he might do good.
Like, I mean, to bring it all back.
You're just a nihilist. You want somebody
to bring it all back for a second. Like, what the thing I'm really afraid of, and I almost don't even want to say it out loud because I don't want to manifest it, is like, to bring it back to the anti-Semitic stuff. Trump, the whole anti-immigration thing for Trump happened when he went to a rally and someone whispered in his ear, "People are into this thing." He said it, and he saw the kind of reaction he got. He went, "Oh wow, people are really reacting to like
immigration,
to anti-Mexican, anti-immigration thing." And then that built into Build a Wall, and that got a better reaction. And he's like, "All right, this is my platform now because I was getting good feedback from the crowd." Like, there's gonna come along someone who says something a little bit dog whistly anti-Semitic and gets a good reaction, and they're like, "Oh, this is playing well," and then that escalates and escalates.
You're taking a little bit away from Trump though, and his sort of like ability to be intuitive as to what would resonate to begin with. It's not like he said anything randomly and was like, "Oh, I guess I'll go with."
Oh no, sure. He chose that, but I'm just saying, like, policy followed feedback, like if the feedback, like, and now it's pretty normalized to have these like anti-Jewish like opinions in public. If the feedback goes to certain politician that like, oh wow, this anti-Semitic things are really playing well,
right?
Like that's
so who's more likely to pave the way for a demagogue like that actually responds and resonates with anti-Semitism? A DeSantis or a Trump?
Well, I'm worried that Trump yes, but I'm worried that someone like DeSantis would sort of learn from that and do it even better than Trump could do it.
There's no way. No one can do that kind of reading and A/B testing on audiences. The policy wonks are policy wonks, and they do that, and they're boring, and they're not the most charismatic. Like DeSantis, Florida is where woke goes to die. It's not like hilarious. It's like, yeah, but he's a classic.
The truth is,
Republican classic. Can you never see him speak?
I've never seen him speak, and I just imagine what he's like.
DeSantis is like a governor.
DeSantis, he's like Jordan Peterson, right?
No, but you have to realize, like, governors in general are mini presidents. That's why they generally like are electable. Governors are running states. They have they have their own Senate. They have their own kind of miniature model of executive function. They know executive experience. That's
Thought he was the mayor of South Beach.
Yeah. But like senators, congressmen are sort of insiders, political insiders who have been in Washington and all those things. So that's why there's always this argument. I have executive experience. I've been a governor, and they run on the idea of problem solving within specific things. They problem solved in the state. They dealt with issues, those kind of things. They brag about their numbers in the state and stuff like that. But anyway, I just started seeing the same old stuff happen. Analyzing Trump's speech, sort of apologetics, doing acrobatics to say, well, what was interesting about this from people who are like otherwise sound conservatives. You start to see this sort of compromising of principles, conservative principles for Trump being more for Trumpism. You start to see that. And like, I'll admit, like, there was something, if you lean conservative, I don't know if policy follows audience or if Trump makes the audience follow policy, because on policy, his first administration was pretty much like cut and dry, a lot of just straight up conservative things, except for trade. He was weird on trade, which is not typically conservative to be anti-free trade. But in terms of Supreme Court justices, in terms of, a lot of things, cutting regulations, tons of regulations, I believe, from what I looked into. I think Kevin O'Leary said it in an interview, so that's what I mean by looked into it. Oh, this is like I've never seen before. Regulations cut like mad.
He was heavily invested in FTX.
Was he? We got to put that on the shelf for a second. But I just mean his record, like when he was running again, Ben Shapiro did a video. It was like, why I'm voting for Trump the second term and not the first term. It's like, it's really good. His record is really good. Do I like his behavior? No. Does he have bad tweets? Like really bad? Bad. Really bad. I can't do Ben. Pisses me off.
Yeah, I thought it's pretty good.
It's really bad. But his record on policy is actually really good. Like really good. Yeah. And his behavior can be asinine, but his record is really good. If you're a conservative, so whatever. Not saying I'm not going to vote for him again. I don't have it clinched. Anyway, Michael, I don't know what to make of it. We'll see how it plays out. It's going to be exhausting because he's in, so it's a force to be reckoned with. For America. FTX, Bitcoin. We talk crypto, Web3 bullshit.
Yeah.
The guy lost $16 billion in 2 days.
Yeah, well, it just came out that all of his donations and like the whole persona that he built was all it was all fake. He said it was all a PR stunt. He's like a real sociopath. Can
you tell me the story? Because for the folks who don't know, SBF FTX 50.
FTX is a cryptocurrency exchange
on Bitcoin
that worked internationally. I think I think for like a lot of coins. So if you were like, I want to buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin, it's like Coinbase. Like instead of you would go to FTX.com, buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and keep it in your FTX.
It's an exchange.
It's an exchange.
An account.
Yeah, and you have your FTX account, and your $1 million of Bitcoin is in there. Okay. Well, it turns out if you would have been able to open up your bank account and wanted to hold your $1 million of Bitcoin, it wasn't there, because as soon as you sent him $1 billion to buy Bitcoin, they said they put Bitcoin in your account, but really they sent it to their own trading desk to try to make 10 times your $1 million.
This is a real fraud on a global scale.
It's like he could serve life in prison if they ever catch him. Like
they did catch him. They have him.
No, he's in the Bahamas and he's trying to get to Dubai, I think.
That's nice.
No, I think he's like they have him, but he hasn't been arrested.
This is not a crypto like fail, and like another NFT that collapsed. This is a crypto fraud scheme.
This is fraud. Yeah, this is fraud.
So how? But don't they have a record on their phones? I mean, like the whole thing is crypto is fraud proof. The ledger.
Well. So the thing, this isn't crypto in the sense where, like, in order for people to actually use crypto, you need centralized exchanges like FTX or Coinbase or whatever. So there's a man in the middle that you have to trust that everything's okay. I mean, it's a
could Coinbase have done the same thing?
Coinbase could, except they're a public company.
But there's a ledger. Like, you see the exchange on your phone. Once you have an interaction, there is a ledger, a blockchain that shows the interaction. And you could check it at any time.
That's a good question. I wonder if maybe they just took the Bitcoin and just didn't actually put it in your account. Like it is in your ledger. I don't know. I don't really know. That's
unless the whole FTX interface was completely fake, and then you actually sent money via FTX through like linked to your account. Like the whole thing from the bottom up is completely fake.
It's possible that maybe like the Bitcoin was yours, but like they were using it and losing it.
But every transaction on Bitcoin, is recorded.
Yeah, so maybe it was recorded, but it doesn't necessarily mean that just because they say the money's in your wallet means it's actually there. Or in your account,
unless like there's something with the UI that people were using on FTX that was fake.
I don't know.
Showing you numbers, showing you ledgers and transactions that were completely fake.
That's a good question. I think they were saying there was $1 million in your account when there was $0 in your account.
Right. Now, do you disdain or admire this level of genius from this kid?
That's a really good question.
You evil son of a bitch.
No, I mean, people are really, really wiped out, and it's probably going to set crypto back like.
You think any poor people any real impoverished people had crypto?
Not impoverished. There was probably someone our age who had $250,000 to buy a house or to send their kids to private school. FTX? And kept it on FTX. Why not? I think the Heat play in FTX Stadium. Like it's like it was totally legit.
So
admiration, and now that money's gone. And then there was $400 million left to pay out some people, and that was hacked.
I heard about this too.
And now that money's gone.
And they found that. Oh, they don't know where that is.
I think like the only way to hack it was like through like a program that SBF built or something. It was like he definitely took it. But the interesting part to me is that
how old is this kid? He looks like a little.
He's like 30. He's 30, but he was the darling of like Democrats and like liberal media.
Yeah, why is that?
So he explained he orchestrated it.
He was a donor. I mean,
he was a donor to liberal candidates. But also Republican candidates. What he kind of wasn't saying was it was an exchange for getting the kind of practices FTX was doing legal in America. So he could have just done this even more. But that was sort of glossed over, and like the New York Times just did a profile on him, and like they didn't mention like fraud or anything. Like he was like the darling of like he was like the new J.P. Morgan, they were calling him, for like liberal America, where he was funding like all of these candidates and all these media organizations and everything.
So I ask you again: admiration or disdain?
I don't really admire it. I really don't.
Because Jordan Peterson, you have a problem with putting on a suit. This kid, you're like, respect.
Well,
gotta respect the hustle.
I respect his level of self-awareness. In a way,
No, there's something sick and twisted how you could do this off. But he didn't pull it off. He didn't pull it off.
He didn't pull it off. He could have. He might have. So what happened?
Where's the actual money? Like he's funding Democrats with what money from what accounts? Where is the money?
the money people.
Oh,
He
we're
was using
giving him.
your money. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. He was using.
So
your
it's
money.
a Ponzi scheme on a crypto Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, it's not a Ponzi scheme. It's just fraud. He wasn't taking money. He wasn't ever planning on paying anyone back. It was just fraud.
Well, Ponzi means, right, like you're giving people money back from other people's loans.
Yeah. He was taking your money and then trying to make more with it and also using it. Mm-hmm. And it might have been okay if something else just went under. I forgot what it was. And like, Luna.
Luna went under?
Luna went under like a while ago, and they think their trading desk.
I bought a lot of Luna. Yeah.
you wouldn't known about it. Like,
I heard about that.
They just had issues, and like the whole thing kind of fell apart. But like, now everything's falling apart. Like other exchanges are going under. Like it's this whole cascading effect. The reason I brought it up though is because like a year ago on our podcast, we were just talking about like the promise of Web3 and like Naval Ravikant and Chris Dixon and all these people.
Everyone can be rich.
Yeah, exactly. You can be rich too.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of funny to me how. Like the unpopular opinion was like this is all a scam and none of it makes sense, and like now it seems to be
told you so
happening.
Yeah, there's a clip of Warren Buffett and I forget this other really wealthy older guy who was like, "There's no product there." Warren Buffett's like, "If you don't have a product that's generating wealth, there's nothing there." And then this other guy said, and he was just saying, "It's nothing. There's nothing here. If it's too good to be true, it is." It's very obvious.
And it attracted all these insane people.
Yeah. I'm feeling a little nervous because I'm a little older now as an adult where like when we first got into the job market, the economy, it collapsed. It was 2008, 2009, and we knew nothing about it. And I still know nothing about it, but it seems like pending collapse. Don't you feel like you're in real estate a little bit? I don't know, housing, prices, like economy. There's all this like, when there's like a vibe in the air, all these like articles and people kind of talking about like loom and doom. Is that the right word?
Gloom and doom.
I always get
looming doom though would make sense. Looming doom.
Yeah,
like
gloom and doom.
Gloom and doom.
Just this idea that like things have been. I don't know. I don't follow really housing market prices, those kind of things, boring stuff like that. But do you think so? Is everything about to collapse?
Yeah, I think that's the conventional wisdom that things are about. There's about to be a recession. Yeah, right. I mean, Facebook just fired 11,000.
That's what I mean. I keep seeing all this like
for work. Yeah, it's probably a lot harder to get a job now. There's 11,000 Facebook employees who are looking for jobs now. It's not good. Yeah, it does. Yeah. This is like, this is what happens when during a recession the scams get uncovered. That's what happened to Madoff.
Yeah,
like as soon as something they're kind of
that's what I mean.
Leaning on.
This is it's bringing back my mind to like.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
CryptoPunks fall. VaynerMedia.
Yeah.
No, but
do you think there's gonna be a VCon too?
Yeah, announced it.
Really?
Yeah.
This is the interesting one.
Okay, let's try to go.
This is because I mean it's like last year was on the brink.
I'll manifest it now. I think this year would be interesting if I spoke to them about actually like talking one-on-one on a panel about content strategy. We'll see what happens by that time.
Yeah.
But I would like to see if maybe Gary and I could
yourself.
chat about. No, it's funny. It's so meta. Like I followed his advice, not from him, but his advice that he preaches is the things that I do in doing him. So it's kind of hilarious. Yeah. Could be a funny moment. I don't know if there's time.
Yeah. Well, I just mean the excitement around NFTs is zero.
Is it? What about Gabe Weiss and the Stoics? I'm the only one of us who owns one.
It's doing well. I wish I'd been able to buy one.
How's it doing? Because I can't seem to find it.
It's you bought it at like 0.08. I think it's at like 0.2. It's good.
What does that mean?
It's like doubled your money a little bit more than that.
So I have $5
if you were to sell it.
I want to like check my wallet one day.
It's not. There's no NFTs now that. I shouldn't say that.
Good time to buy.
Unless the entire thing just disappears.
No, the technology doesn't disappear though.
But this use case for it is meaningless. Like and NFTs, like Gary says, are very cool. It's a very cool idea, but it doesn't mean that Bored Apes are going to be
the thing.
If they're not cool, then they're nothing. Like there's like if there might be something else that you can use an NFT for, but like I don't know if I would not buy a Bored Ape now.
What's Bitcoin at?
If I had to guess, I would say like
8,000, 7,000.
Is it possible it's down? I think like maybe 13,000. Is that possible?
From 60?
Should I check?
No, not on the pod.
From 60. Ethereum is like hovering around 1,000, 1,200, 1,000. That was at like 6,000, I think.
Yeah, just wish I bought.
I would buy if I had a lot of extra money now. I'd buy a lot of Ethereum. That's
okay.
what I would do.
Well,
I think Bitcoin and Ethereum will be the ones to come out of this, and nothing else.
A lot of things
and the Stoics by Gay Boys.
A lot of things to look forward to and dread and get excited about in the future and be cautious about. Anti-Semitism, the presidency, Web3,
the economy,
Bitcoin, crypto, the economy, and the Buckle Up podcast going to the moon, baby. That's
devils,
Buckle
baby.
Up, episode 45. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on 46.
Was that an embarrassing high five?
Yeah, it was. We always finger you. Exciting guests coming up.